Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Year 10 information evening. Now, usually we would be doing this evening in the theatre in the school. Sorry, I'm just going to be really rude and interrupt myself because I know some of you guys are really busy and might not have time to sit and watch a video that's over an hour long. I mean, you should, okay? Everything there is really important, but if you wanted to watch some of it now, watch some of it later, I thought I'd prepare a little contents page just so you can see exactly what's on there. Now, if you wanted to skip the introduction, I mean, why would you? Okay, it's a great introduction, definitely worth watching. The first part is well-being, and that starts 51 seconds in. And you can see the rest of the content there. Summer work, reasoning, which is part 1 and part 2, with subject information sandwiched in the middle. And then homework, and finally finishing off with some top tips. So if you want to skip to any of the sections, this is the part in the video in blue that you need to go to, but definitely watch the whole presentation because it's worthwhile, okay? Right, thank you. Back to me. Go. And I would be stood in front of you while you're all sat in the tiered seating and hopefully enjoying yourselves thoroughly. However, because of the current global pandemic, it's having to come to you live via video instead, okay? So I don't know why we're calling it an evening anymore, because some of you might be watching this in the morning, so it's probably better to call it, rather than an evening, let's call it a presentation. So this is a Year 10 information presentation, and I'm going to be talking to you about the transition from Year 10 into Year 11, okay? So, first of all, I know the big question you're all going to have about exams in 2022. Well, basically, in short, we don't know yet, okay? The government has promised to let us know at the end of the summer. And in fact, I saw something already on the TV where they're speculating about exams. At the moment, that's all it is, just speculation. Nothing has been announced officially. Okay. However, rest assured, as a school, we are prepared for all eventualities, and we have robust systems in place to make sure that we do the very best by your child. We do understand this is a huge stress for some students, and the anxiety that this causes, okay? We can't even fathom what it must be like for a student in Year 10 at the moment who's seen the last 2 years of GCSE cancelled, is talking about all these plans of things going back to normal. So mentally, they're going to be preparing for one scenario, but that could be taken away like that. And that, unfortunately, is the world we live in at the moment. So what we try to do as a school is try to limit that stress and anxiety. And we do that by communication, explaining and planning, okay? So, unfortunately, I don't have Year 11 parents or students here with me now, but hopefully if I did, they would say that they received a lot of communication from the school this year. We have sent letters out and emails out to students and parents at every stage of the process. As soon as the government announced something, we emailed and contacted to let them know exactly what that meant for their son or daughter, okay? We let the students know exactly what that meant and how they should prepare themselves. We worked really hard, okay, this year to make sure that anything that was released, we dissected it, went through it, checked it, and made sure that we had a clear plan in place. All right, so those plans changed every time new information was released, but it didn't matter. We were ready, okay, so that we knew exactly what we needed to do and therefore could inform the parents and the students exactly what they needed to do. We'll continue to do this, so be ready for lots of emails from me as the government announcement comes through and over the course of the next year, and we will make sure that you're with us every step of the way. So let's look at a Year 10's journey so far. Now, in Year 9, we had the first lockdown, okay? The first ever national lockdown, I believe, where from March to July, all of a sudden their world was turned upside down and they were no longer at school. Now, March to July, that's a long period of time without being in school. They then came back in September in year 10, and the school was very different. I look outside the window now and I can see barriers up where we put them into bubbles, but thankfully lessons continued near enough as normal. Then, January to March, we saw the second lockdown, and once again students were thrust back into homeschool. What we've made sure that we've done is we've tasked our curriculum leaders with the task of going through their curriculum maps and identifying any key gaps in the learning. We told them to make sure that they were looking at all the topics they had to deliver and analyse which ones would be best to teach from remote learning. So in those lockdown periods, they taught them the subjects or the content that they believed would be the best for home learning. For example, my subject is design technology. Well, obviously, we have had no practical work this year. We weren't able to do any at home during home learning, and we haven't been able to do any really since we've come back to school. So the curriculum leaders had to go through and plan the curriculum to make sure that the students didn't lose out. What we have done as well is we've made sure that we've developed a blended learning curriculum. So if a student had to go off for isolation, they would do the same work at home or near enough the same work at home as the students in school. So they didn't fall behind. And if a whole year group had to go off, or if there was a lockdown and home learning took place, there would be this smooth transition. So it was like they were never missing. We've tried to do this to minimize disruption as much as possible. It's vitally important that we make sure that we look after the mental health of our students and your son or daughter. Now, there's so much you can hear at the moment about coronavirus and about what's happening. The best tip is actually to just ignore it, okay? Because you turn on a news program and there's so many different articles and different conversations going on about it. So my best tip would just be to avoid it. But we know that naturally people are scared and people are going to be worried. So I have a few top tips for you, okay? Number one, focus on lessons and revising. Doesn't matter what gets announced with exams and what's going to happen, because we as a school have got this, okay? We've had no exams now for 2 years. We're pretty good at doing this, okay? We know what we're doing, all right? All the students need to do is just do well in lessons and revise. And to be honest, that's the same message we give even when there isn't a global pandemic, okay? Now, let's take this year, for example. We had no idea what was happening because the government didn't announce exams being cancelled until January. So the message was really simple and clear to the students. Come in every day, as you would normally. Work as hard as you can in lessons. And then revise. So when you go home, set up a revision timetable, which I'll come to later in this presentation, okay? And make sure that you're just working as hard as you can. Those parent reports we send home, they have attitude to learning grades. We want A's and B's on these. Because if you're getting A's and B's on those reports, then that means that your son or daughter is working as hard as they can, okay? So, and that's all we ask. So the year 11s this year, if they worked as hard as they possibly could, when the exams were cancelled, all the work that we had to use for evidence, okay, it was their best work because they'd spent the year working hard and doing their best. Message number 2, in case students get a little bit anxious, we've got this, okay? And we are here to help. We have expert teams, okay, in place to look after your son or daughter, starting with their tutor, okay? Some of them may have had the same tutor now for 4 years, so they know them pretty well. The year team will have been with them for a few years, So again, know your son or daughter very well, but are very experienced in handling students who've just let stress get on top of them a little bit. So we urge students, go and talk to these people. Our teachers are fantastic, arguably some of the best in the country, okay? But they are also here to help, and they're very, very good at listening to students and offering them advice on how to manage stress. The senior leadership team are also on hand out most duties, so your son or daughter can go and speak to them if they want to know a bit more about the plan that we have to help ease stress. And finally, if that idea of having that face-to-face conversation is a little bit intimidating or a little bit worrying, we have an email, safe@rushy-tmet.uk, which from your son or daughter's school email account, they can then email and someone will get back to them and offer them help and advice. And then finally, message number 3. Stress, mental health, all very important that we take the time to relax. What is going to be very important to your son or daughter this year is taking that time to relax. Now, when I say relax, they need to think very carefully about how they relax. How many times have I heard an expression like rage quit when talking about playing on the PlayStation? If something is making you that angry, you are breaking controllers or having to rage quit, it's not a relaxing thing. Something that's relaxing should calm you down, okay? It shouldn't be releasing lots of adrenaline that's going to get you worked up and pumped up. It should do the exact opposite and calm you down. Put your mind at peace. It could be to read a book. It could be to do a drawing. It could be to do something like a jigsaw or anything like that. Listening to music, again, as long as that music isn't aggressive, okay? Something that calms you down. Very, very important that our Year 10 students develop that now so they can use that when they start feeling anxious or stressed in Year 11. So it's really, really important, like I said, that we manage this stress. And the best way to do it is be organized, okay? Make sure that you are planning when you're going to do your homework, when you're going to revise, etc. Plan time to relax and unwind. This is very, very important. Make sure that you talk to somebody, okay? They have hundreds of staff here at Rushy Meads that will listen to them, okay? If they don't feel comfortable talking to us, talk to a friend. If they don't feel confident talking to a friend, hopefully they can talk to you, their family, all right? But it is very, very important that they are expressing how they're feeling and they're talking so it's not all bottled up. And I'm going to come to this point later in the presentation, but plan what you'll do and when you're going to do it. Very, very important to help keep that balance right and make sure you don't burn yourself out. So some of you may notice that on this slide that I showed before, I'm sure you'll probably picked up on one key word in here, which was this word here, okay? When it said minimize disruption. I'm sure some of you will have picked up that it didn't say remove disruption, okay? We are well aware that there has been this disruption, and as much as we feel that we've done the best by your son or daughter, there will be some disruption to their education. The lockdown at the beginning was dropped on us at such short notice. I believe we did a fantastic job of adapting. I think our teachers did a really, really good job of developing lessons and giving some really good online homeschool work, okay? However, when we first started it, we didn't fully know what we were doing, and it took a lot of research and a lot of software programs to be developed for it to really take off. But then at the same time, it relied on engagement. Now, I'm sure some of you are sat there knowing that your son or daughter didn't work as hard as they probably could. And if they didn't, there will have been some disruption. But have no fear, because we have phase 2 of the plan. So the first phase was to adapt the curriculum and develop blended learning. The second phase is summer work. Now, yes, we are asking your son or daughter to do work over the summer. This is why, okay, the forgetting curve. Now, I find this graphic astonishing every time I see it, because look at this. When you first learn something, one day later, you can only remember 80% of it. That's mind-blowing, okay? That you can lose 20% of what you've learned in a day. But the good news is, if you refresh yourself by going back over it, it then takes you twice the time to forget it. And the more you refresh your memory, the longer it takes for you to forget something. This, ladies and gentlemen, is the science of long-term memory. Okay, this is helping embed learning. Okay, make sure that it's up there and it's not going away. Now, what's even more astonishing is if you look at this, it's in days. Now, I'm sure we're all looking forward to the summer, but remember, summer is 6 weeks long. So your son or daughter has worked really, really hard this year to compensate for the disruption of COVID-19 and to prepare for their GCSEs. 6 weeks. Think about how much they can forget. We don't want this. We don't want this. We want your son or daughter to go into those GCSE exams armed, ready, with the confidence that they know that learning is embedded in their brain. Okay? We don't want them to forget over the 6 weeks. So we've devised a plan. Now, at the start of this, I said that the school will communicate, okay, our plans and explain them to you. Well, here we go. So this is our plan, okay? The summer holiday is about 16 weeks, so 42 days. We've said we would like your son or daughter to work for 18 of them, okay? So not even half, okay? And actually, when we say a day's work, we actually mean 4 to 5 hours. So not even the full day, okay? There's 24 hours in a day. We're asking for 5 of them. That's it. And that is to make sure they don't forget what they've done. Now, then what we've done is we have looked at their timetable. What subjects do they have the most lessons in? In which case, what subjects will they probably have the most subject content to learn? So, maths, English, and science there you can see, okay, are the big three. With the others, not as much, but still very, very important. We then sent this to curriculum leaders, and we said, can you give our students 4 to 5 hours worth for each day specified on this table? And this is what they came back with. Now, I am going to send this to you as part of our communication back and forth. I'm going to send this to you with an accompanying letter with everything that I'm saying now to make sure that you can see exactly what we're setting them. So back here, you can see language, 2 days worth of work, so 8 to 10 hours. If you look here, you can see MFL, Modern Foreign Language. Everything that's specified there will last your son or daughter 8 to 10 hours in the summer holidays, okay? It's up to them how they do it, but there is enough learning for them to keep refreshing their memory, refreshing their mind, embedding that learning. Now, what I'd like to do is I would like to take a break from talking, and I'm going to hand over to some of our subject curriculum leaders. Now, I'm going to start with Mr. Stopp in science. So, over to you, Mr. Stopp.
Hello, my name is Mr. Stopp, and I'm one of the curriculum leaders here at Rushmead Academy. Today I'm going to be talking to you about all of the different science courses that we offer at Rushmead, the triple award, the double award, and the entry-level certificate. So, first off, what to expect in Year 11 in science? Well, basically, students have been studying GCSE science since Easter in Year 9, so we're now well over halfway through the course. And in Year 11, we simply continue with that work. We have a number of new topics in Year 11. and there's quite a lot of curriculum to get through. Sometimes it can feel like those topics are more demanding because what they do is they do assume that we have taught and learnt everything in year 9 and 10, and they build on that knowledge. And so where students have forgotten work from year 9 and 10 or have been absent and have not caught up, then it can seem quite difficult. So it's really important that students do keep on top of their work, have a good attendance, and catch up with any work that they've missed in year 10. We will have our mock exam in November, and there will be 3 mock papers, one for biology, one for chemistry, one for physics. And every topic that we do and have done, we have at least 2 assessments. And all of those marks from years 9 and 10 and moving forwards into year 11 are available for you to view via the School Gateway app. If you're not familiar with the School Gateway app, or unsure how to access the students' grades, then please do contact reception for some more information on that. My top tips would be, firstly, to get the basics right. You need to be consistently, every lesson, attending with all of your equipment and books and arriving on time, behaving and listening and working hard, being in class and trying to understand and do your best to learn the work that's being taught. And of course, completing all of your homework to the best of your ability and getting the highest grade you can. If one of those things is not happening, then that is going to be a barrier to you achieving well in science. Last year, there were lots of lockdowns and students were in and out of school, but every lesson was still taught either online or as a live lesson or as a recorded lesson or using the Oak Academy. So if students missed any of those lessons or are struggling or to understand the content, it is important that they take action to catch up on those. They can talk to their teacher about it or access some of our many online resources to help them. A large part of the science curriculum is practical work, either required practicals or an aspect of the curriculum called working scientifically. And it's important that students give that equal weighting to the subject content as well. My advice is always to revise straight from the start of the course in year 9. But if that has not been happening, then it's not too late and students need to start revising now. The later you leave it in year 11, the harder it is and the less likely it is to be successful. So I would advocate revising in small chunks of 20 to 30 minutes, starting now all through the summer and using the read, cover, write technique and regular quizzing and testing yourself on the work. Many scientific studies have shown that simply reading revision guides or highlighting is not effective and is not an efficient use of time. You can help by making sure that your son or daughter's attitude to learning is an A or B on their report. And if it's not, asking them why not and inquiring as to what they can do to improve that attitude to learning, either in their classwork or their homework. You can see their homework on Show My Homework, Satchel 1, and you can quiz them on their completed topics. You can use the revision guide to test them. And also, if you are being notified that they're having consequences by School Gateway or by text, then you can inquire as to why that's happening in science and what it is that the student needs to do to improve that situation as well. All of our GCSEs are with the exam board AQA, and AQA have got a very good website for each of the different subjects, the science trilogy or the separate sciences, biology, chemistry and physics. And if you go to that website, you can find a full specification, which is a list of all of the topics and their contents, and also, importantly, past exam papers and mark schemes. They're freely available on the website. In addition to that, as a school, we've put together from the school website a system called Folder. And if you go onto Folder and go into the Faculty of Science GCSE section, you will find even more past exam questions, an equation sheet that needs to be learnt, and lots of help and support about how to revise and example revision timetables. As well as that, there is a folder for each of the topics at GCSE with the required practical details, the contents are that in each topic, the words and their meanings for that topic, and a summary PowerPoint and a quiz to help revision. So that's a very easy place to start when it comes to revising. In addition to that, to support your son or daughter, we've invested quite heavily in lots of online learning resources. We have a website called Collins Connect, which basically gives you access to the full textbooks that we use in class. There is an excellent website called freesciencelessons.co.uk, which basically has a short 5-minute video for every aspect of the science curriculum. Again, a good place to start when it comes to revision. We have a website called Twig, which your son or daughter can log on to, and when they're on that, they can view short films which explain concepts, and also a glossary of films for all of this vocabulary we need to learn for science. Because science is a practical subject and it has been difficult to get into the labs this year, we've also bought an online system which is a virtual practical system where students can use the link on the screen to click and then to have a go at the different required practicals, change variables, and see what happens online. In addition to that, the Oak National Academy has produced video lessons for every lesson in the science curriculum. And if there's a subject that you're struggling at, or don't understand, or have missed, then that is an excellent place to start as well. We also have a system called Educake that we use for homeworks. But in addition to doing homeworks on the website, it has a facility called Smart Assistant. And what that does, it looks at the different topics that you've done for homework and suggests further topics for you to try as a quiz to improve those weaker topics. And it has got revision study guides as well that you can click on and use. So your son or daughter has access to all of that material and should be able to log on and show you the work that they've been doing on their scores, and also what they're planning to do to help them revise. If you'd like any help with any of those systems, for example passwords, or if you want to talk about your son or daughter's science work or want any more advice, or would like a copy of this presentation, then please do contact me at the email address on screen. Thank you very much for listening today.
So thank you to Mr. Stop for that nice and detailed explanation of what to expect in science in Year 11. What we have now is we have a PowerPoint prepared by the heads of English, okay, curriculum leaders for English, and I'm going to talk you through that one, okay? So this is both for English language and English literature, because for those of you that don't know, there's actually two topics in English, and you need to have two separate exams. You have an exam in language and in literature, okay? So in Year 11, what you can expect is that you're going to learn a load of new topics, okay? So you're going to start learning English language paper 2. Now, this is very much the writer's viewpoints and perspectives, okay? Now, in that exam, there are 5 questions. So it starts off with a true or false question. Then it's a summary of text. Then you have to analyze the language used. Then you need to compare texts and the perspectives and the methods. And then finally, you have to do your own bit of creative writing to write an argument or explain a point of view. Now, you will be taught how to do this, and this is exactly what is going to happen in Year 11. Now, in English literature, there's going to be many new topics. You're going to finish Power and Conflict poetry. I believe you've done a cluster of 15 poems. You're going to look at some unseen poetry because you're going to have poems that come up on the exam and you're going to have to analyze them. Okay. Now, learning skills and techniques to analyze and compare unseen poems. So it'll be a brand new poem that you get in the exam. And what you'll need to do is you'll then need to put into practice the skills of analysing it and comparing it that you will have learned this year. So What's also going to happen is you're going to have to revise everything that you did in year 10. So remember how I said right at the beginning of the video about the forgetting curve, okay? And I said how many students would have sat there and said, oh, we did this last week. Well, you're going to do it all again. So you're going to look at the topics you went through in year 10 just to make sure they become secure knowledge in your head. Then there's going to be plenty and plenty of exam practice. Now, just imagine this is some sort of competition. It could be a sports match, could be a basketball match, or something like this. Surely you would want to go into it with plenty of practice. So that's exactly what's going to happen. So this is now how to revise. Okay, now the fantastic resource that your children might not even realize they're building are their books, okay, and their booklets. By going through those booklets and by looking at the exam style questions, the mark schemes, the model answers, the knowledge organizers, and the key terminology, that is one of the best ways that they can revise. Now, practice questions are the best form of revision method, okay? Because what they have to do to answer those questions is they have to recall the knowledge. So by doing practice paper questions, you have to, first of all, try and understand what the question is asking, and that is the first task, really, of a GCSE exam. Okay, it's amazing how many students can be thrown by a question. Okay, and I think the exam boards do that slightly on purpose, but it's trying to understand exactly what the question wants you to do. So, as you'll see, probably a common thread across all subjects, the more past paper questions you do, the better. Okay, so get used to trying to answer them. Then mark them using the mark schemes. Okay, if you can engage with the mark scheme and you can understand exactly what each question is asking for, then when it comes to the exam, you can sit there and think, right, okay, so I know this type of question, I know what a mark scheme would be asking for, so I need to answer it in this way. All right, so as you can see, a common thread across all English subjects, exam style questions. Okay, and I like that one at the bottom, feedback from your teacher. If you're not sure about anything, if your son or daughter isn't sure about anything, please encourage them to ask their teacher. Okay, make sure that they are asking for help. They only have this year to take advantage of teacher help and guidance, so make sure they do it. Now, there are plenty of revision guides available. Now, we do recommend the CGP ones. They are available in the school kiosk, so can be purchased. However, if they want to go out and get their own, that's absolutely fine. But we do recommend a number of revision guides. Speak to the English teacher, and if you ask your son or daughter to speak to their English teacher and find out exactly what ones are best, they can provide the full information. But revision guides, always incredibly useful. Now, it's changed a lot since when I was at school, but social media and the internet is actually a fantastic resource. You can find so many revision guides and help on things like YouTube, etc. Now, this is where we have to be a little bit careful, because although social media can be a fantastic platform to revise, there's also plenty of distractions. So you know your son or daughter, you know if they would be able to go onto something like YouTube, find someone like Mr. Bruff, okay, and watch those videos, and then keep watching those videos rather than flick to their favorite Fortnite video or FIFA video or something like that. Okay, but there are plenty of videos that they can sit and listen to and sit and watch on social media. So how exactly should you revise? Now, I mentioned before about doing past papers. Okay, now the beauty of doing a past paper is you get to know exactly what is expected from you in each paper. So the more of them you do, the more familiar with the layout you become, and the more you can see exactly what is expected. You also then get exposed to key terminology, all right? Remember I said about translating the question? Well, you start learning the key terminology used, which is going to benefit your son or daughter massively. Because when it comes to the exam paper, they'll be able to sit and understand exactly what's expected of them. Now, how to revise. So we said about past papers. We said about exam style questions. But we can also use simple quizzes and cue cards. So cue cards are very small pieces of paper that have the basic information on. Okay, they're like little prompts. So you read them, okay, and then it gives you little prompts for your brain, okay, prompts for your memory, okay, just to help you understand everything. It breaks it down into small little manageable chunks. So you see students with stacks of cue cards about this big, okay, but each one contains a little bit of knowledge, and they can flick through those, and then we do what's called read and cover. So read the cue card, read a few, and then cover them up. Okay, can you then repeat exactly what's on the cue card? And that can be done with yourselves. So how can parents help? Well, tell them to go and read their cue cards. Then you take their cue cards, then say, right, tell me about this. And they have to almost quote back to you what's on the cue card. So plenty of ways to revise. And if you look at the bottom there, it says AQA. AQA is the exam board for both English papers. So there are plenty of resources available on their website. So I might sound like I'm being repetitive, but let's not forget that forgetting curve, okay? And the more you repeat something, the more it stays in your brain. Now, the top tips for success in English and English literature. You can summarize this very simply by just saying past papers. Know exactly what is being asked of you on each component on the course. Know what you're about to face, okay? Know how many questions, how many marks, what type of questions, what do you have to do for each question, okay? Revise little and often and start as early as possible, okay? I will come to this very, very soon, exactly how to revise, but start now. And we have the best resources in the country because, as I've said before, we have some of the best teachers in the country. So your son or daughter needs to use them. Go and speak to them. And anything they're not sure about, just go and ask. So thank you very much to the English team for putting that together. I'm going to hand over now to the maths team, and they can talk you through exactly what is expected for maths in Year 11.
So the Maths GCSE is made up of 3 papers, 1 non-calculator and 2 calculator. The decision regarding the tier the students will be entered for will not be made until the spring of Year 11. This will be based on an accumulation of assessments to ensure they are able to maximise their potential. So how can you help them achieve their best? First of all, we need all students to come to every lesson with the correct equipment. It is vital they are familiar with the equipment in advance of the examinations, so it's crucial they have their own. One of the most important things you can do is to support them with their independent learning at home. Historically, we have found there is a strong correlation between students' independent home learning and their final academic results. Outwardly, they may not always show their gratitude, but in the long run, they will be hugely appreciative of your support. Planning and organisation is the key to success. Ensuring deadlines are met with ample time to spare allows students the chance to seek any extra guidance and support from their teacher if necessary. Every week, students will be set 3 compulsory pieces of homework. Their Maths Watch and Dr. Frost online, along with the 10 questions from Weebly in the back of their progress book, all of which will be recorded on Satchel 1. In addition to these online homework platforms, there are a variety of revision resources available, either online or from the school kiosk. Each year, the curriculum is split into 12 units. Revision guidance for these can be found on russianmeadmaths.weebly.com. Students will regularly complete end-of-unit reviews and scores will be uploaded onto the school gateway. Along with the end-of-unit reviews, the termly assessment results will ensure students are able to identify areas of weakness to inform their independent revision. These are examples of the feedback sheets they will receive after their termly or unit assessments. These help them to identify their target areas for revision and also guides them to the relevant MathsWatch or Corporate Maths videos that can aid them with their independent learning. In addition to MathsWatch and Dr. Frost, there are a variety of other online resources to help aid their revision. Students should explore them all so they can decide which platforms suit them. If they want to use MathsWatch for their independent learning, but they aren't sure of the video number, they can use the search option with videos. From there, they can choose to watch a shortened 1-minute clip or a full clip and then complete either a series of interactive questions online or a worksheet of questions, the answers to which can be accessed on rushyourmeadmaths.weebly.com. In addition to their weekly homework, Dr. Frost can also be used to access past papers. Although they cannot access AQA papers on this platform, they can still find lots of other practice papers, for example EdXL or OCR. Maths is maths, so they need not be limited to just AQA questions. Just Maths Online is also another platform we have available for students to utilise for their independent learning. The curriculum is split into 3 areas so they can choose an appropriate start point based on their own confidence and ability. All of the topics include a video, worksheet and solutions, and checklists can be printed to help them track their progress. So, to summarise, regular completion of homework to a high standard will allow your child to enter their GCSEs with their best chance of reaching their potential. This is why your support at home is invaluable and hugely appreciated. If you have any further questions, please feel free to send us an email and we will be happy to reply.
So thank you to our curriculum leaders there for giving us that bit more information about the summer work they've set. Now, your son or daughter is going into year 11. I know it seems scary, doesn't it, when the time flies? But year 11 can often feel a little bit like this, okay? It feels like you're on the centre circle, ready for kickoff in the big game. Now, year 7, 8, 9, and 10 has all been the training behind the scenes, the preparation, all ready for this moment. Now, summer work was a very key part of training because actually we've been doing this for the last 3 years. And each year, the year 11s that actually engaged in the summer work, that did it properly, did it how they were supposed to, they came back feeling less stressed. I know it's crazy to think that do more work, feel less stressed, but for all the reasons that I said at the beginning, because they hadn't forgotten anything. They felt that their learning was more secure. They felt so much more confident and ready to face year 11. Okay, and that's exactly what we want. We want them to feel nice and confident and ready for the kickoff of the big game. Also, those students that engaged in the summer work and that did it as they were supposed to actually did better in both the November mock exams they've got coming up and their GCSEs. So it really is very, very important that your son or daughter engages with that. As I said before, preparation is the cure. Okay, if your son or daughter is feeling stressed, okay, and worried about year 11, do the summer work. Okay, make sure that you're nice and prepared, because that way they'll come into the year 11 starting like this, feeling confident, feeling ready. Okay, because everything they've learned in the last 4 years, they feel it's secure and in their head and not going anywhere. Now, you might be sat there thinking, okay, Mr. Glover, you've told my son or daughter how they can prepare for the start of year 11 with the summer work, but what about me? What can I do to help? Well, parents play a huge part in a child's education, and we actually form a triangle, okay? A pyramid. Now the student is at the top, okay? It's all about them. It's all about your son or daughter, okay? But what holds your son or daughter up is us, okay? The school obviously plays an important part. We teach them, we educate them on various different subjects. However, we only see them for 5 hours, a little bit over a day. You see them a lot more. And what we need you to do is to support us supporting them, okay? This whole system works if all three work together. If we don't support you and you don't support us, this pyramid collapses and falls down. So how can you help? Well, I've given you a lot of messages so far. I've spoken to you about how to relieve stress. I've spoken to you about the importance of summer work. We know that the idea of doing work over the summer for many, many students is not going to go down well. They're not going to like this, not going to want to do this. That's where you come in, okay? They won't see the bigger picture. They won't understand necessarily how important it is for them to do this work. They won't understand the forgetting curve. They won't know that they need to keep doing this in order to consolidate their learning. And that's where all those messages that I've given to you, we need you to keep giving to the students. Now, I chose this image because it's that whole phrase of nagging. Well, nagging actually works. And if we think all the way back to the forgetting curve, you tell someone to do something once, unless they do it straight away, they may well forget. So by repeating the message, by keep telling them how important it is, by keep telling them that the more summer work they do, and if they keep doing it, they're going to have better GCSE results. They're going to feel better in year 11. By keep repeating this message, they're not going to forget it. And it's going to help them to see the bigger picture. Now, there's another thing that you can do for us. We are going to be on their backs about revision. And it's really important that they start now. Now, the best thing that they can do, as I said right at the beginning, to help feel less stressed, okay, and to prepare, is to do a revision timetable. Get organized. Now, you can help them with this because you know their daily routine. So this is a mock timetable. You know that dinner is going to be sometime between 6 and 7 p.m. Okay, whenever whoever cooks get a chance to do it, but you know it's roughly between that hour. So let's block that off. You know your son or daughter, probably better than they know themselves. You know that actually when they come back from school, they just need to rest a little bit. So block that off. Now, what they should be doing is 2 or 3 subjects a night and no more than an hour. 45 minutes is fine, but no more than an hour. Even within that hour slot, we could say 45 minutes worth of revision, 15 minutes rest. Okay, especially if you look at the bottom where we're working 7 till 9. Now, on Tuesday, they may have football club. We don't want them to stop doing all these things because, as I said about relaxing, that club could be vitally important to help them relax. So, it's in the timetable. It's there. Friday, everyone's a bit tired. We'll just put the 1 slot on there. Okay, we've got 3 on Monday, 3 on Wednesday, 2 on Thursday, and 1 on Tuesday and Friday. It's a lot of revision. Okay, now look at this. Science appears on Monday. Remember the forgetting curve. We're going to pick science up again on Thursday, making sure that we're planning that space in between, allowing us to forget and then picking it up later. So it's really, really important that we have this planned. Even just 1 subject a week to begin with is good. Okay, the hours do soon add up. So again, you know your son or daughter. If you're looking at this plan and thinking, "Well, they're not going to get into this, okay? That's going to be too much for them to start off with." Well, first of all, what I would say, and my personal advice would be to try it, okay? We don't take the can't attitude. We're a can, and we'll try until we do it. However, you may want to start them off lightly. So you might say, okay, well, for the first half term of year 11, we're going to do a shorter timetable, and then after half term, we're going to increase it, okay? But the hours do add up. Now, let's just say there's approximately 22 working weeks until March, okay? Now, the reason why I say March is because most students delay revision, okay? They don't really think about GCSEs, especially this year, because bear in mind your son or daughter is starting year 11 this year, 2021, okay, but won't sit their exams till 2022. Well, that's a whole year away, or calendar year. So usually January they come back, and then by March they're thinking, okay, I really need to start working now. So that's why I put March in there. But let's say there's approximately 22 working weeks. Now, 1 hour a week on each subject is 22 hours worth of revision. And that's before most other students seriously start revising. So imagine how much you can learn, or how much learning you can consolidate with a minimum of 22 hours. But actually, if we go back to this timetable, to the better timetable, we're doing each subject twice. So all of a sudden, that becomes 44 hours worth of revision. Now, let's go all the way back, because I said let's treat the year 11 as the big game, the kickoff. Imagine sat there for your GCSE exams. It's the game time. It's ready. It's happening now. And you've got 44 hours worth of revision under your belt. You're going to feel so confident, so prepared, so ready, not going to feel stressed, and you're going to be ready for anything that comes your way, feeling nice and confident, and to go and do your best. And that is exactly what we want for your son or daughter. So at this stage, there may be one question that you've got on your mind where you're thinking, Mr. Glover, this all sounds fantastic. This all sounds very well and good. And I can see the timetable that you've made. Where does homework fit in? Because yes, they're going to get a lot of homework. It's not just going to be to revise. There are going to be activities and tasks that they're going to have to do, extended learning. So looking at this timetable here, well, where does homework happen? Okay, we can't have them working all night. I had one year 11 say to me that their preparation for exams was to stay up as late as possible and cram. I just said, no. Sleep is one of the most important things, okay? You need to be having an early night. Be in bed by 9, 10 o'clock at the latest. So where does homework fit in? Well, actually, homework and revision go hand in hand. You see the graphic I've done there? Okay. So it works nicely together because homework is rarely set for the next day. In fact, in the school, we actually say don't set homework for the next day. And again, this is done for a reason. Think back to that forgetting curve. You see, it all comes back to that forgetting curve. And in this presentation, think how many times I've reminded you of that forgetting curve so you don't forget it. Again, I'm here all night. Anyway, we want the students to have a chance to forget what they've learned in lesson, okay? And then they come back to the topic. So we actually don't want them to do the homework the night it's set always. Sometimes it's better to do it the next day. Okay, but even if they do it the night it's set, the lesson might have been 9 o'clock in the morning. Okay, by the time they come back to do it, so let's go to the timetable, for example, they might sit and do the science at 4 o'clock. Okay, well, think about it this way. 9 o'clock till 4 o'clock. How many hours have passed? They may have had 4 more lessons since then. Okay, so they will have forgotten things. Now, this is all called spaced learning and retrieval practice. Okay? Spaced learning is just revisiting a topic after a period of time. Now, what this does is this provides a refresh for the brain, topping up on what's been forgotten. We've actually planned this into our curriculum. Now, I've said this a few times. Again, notice the repetition, because repetition is key to learning. Students coming home, your son or daughter coming home, and you say to them, what did you do in maths today? And they say, oh, we did the same as we did last week or last month or last year. Good. Okay, that's actually planned into our curriculum. And some homework may be part of this. Okay, in science, for example, they may be doing forces at the moment. Then their homework might be on a biology topic. And that topic might not have been covered for a month. Well, that homework is set in there, is planned in there to refresh that learning, to top it all up. Okay, so that they don't forget. Retrieval practice. Now, this is basically testing. Okay, now when we sit a test, we have to try and remember what we've learned. We have to actually bring the knowledge out from the depths of our memory. The information's all there. It's amazing what the brain can store. We actually never use our brain to full capacity. But what we need to do is we need to train our brain to access as much as possible. Now, I use that word train. So, I'm not sure how many of you are familiar with the training concept, etc. But when you're in the gym, okay, if you're just picking up light weights, all right, you're not pushing yourself, not challenging yourself, what's the point? The whole idea of training your muscles is to push them, okay? So this woman here, she shouldn't be smiling when she's doing the set, when she's doing the rep of that deadlift. She should be straining, working hard, okay, pushing her muscles. And it's the same with your brain, okay? What retrieval practice does is it's all about building those connections with your long-term memory, building those connections in your brain so that when you sit and do the test, okay, you can use those connections where you're able to dig deep, access that key information. Okay, so if your son or daughter is coming home from school tired, good, because they've been working hard in lessons, their brain has been working. If they're finding homework difficult, good, okay, because they're training their brain. And things should get easier and easier and easier as your brain works harder and harder and becomes that mighty muscle. Okay, ready to take on those tests. So this is all brain training. Now, that's all very well and good, and I'm sure I've sold it to you. Okay, I'd like to think I can be a good salesman every now and then, but the students is a different matter. Reality, are they going to want to do this? No, 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 no. Okay? Now, what we need to know is we need to know our competition. I said the students need to know what they're up against in terms of the exam that they're going to be sitting. We need to know, and thinking about that support triangle, okay, of school and parents, we need to know exactly what is important to your son or daughter. Now, unfortunately, it's very, very different. To the parent and to the school, we want to see them achieve, get good qualifications, because we know that those qualifications can send them off to do good jobs, good careers, all right? And they can then go on and achieve. They can make the most of themselves. They can have a successful life. We're thinking long term. We understand all of this. We've been through it. We know that the better your qualifications and the harder you work at school, the better your life in the long run. But what's important to the student, your son or daughter? For many, it may be the game they're going to play that night. All right. a school's nemesis, the games console. That's what we're up against. The biggest nemesis that we face is the mobile phone. Now we're introducing a mobile phone ban, okay? So they won't be able to have these out in school and use them in school. So we're trying to conquer it on that level. But what that may mean is that they overcompensate when they get home and they're on their phone a lot. That's what they want to do. They want to do all of this, and that's their priority. That text message that they may get or that Snapchat they may get, replying to that, that is their key. And then let's not forget streaming platforms like Netflix, okay? Binging that series, making sure that they can talk to their friends about it on the yard. That's much more important than the exams that are ages away, in the summer. This TV series is happening now. We need to watch it now to be able to talk about it. And then finally, let's not forget the romance in their life or the friendships. So much more important than anything else that's going on. I mean, we all remember what it was like to be a teenager, okay? But it's important that we understand what is important to them. Now, this is where we need to tackle it as a team, okay? We are a united front at this stage, and that's how we need to present ourselves. We have banned mobile phones in school. You have received communication about this. You know why. I have told you now exactly how your son or daughter should be spending their evenings now in year 11. They should be revising. They should be working hard. All right? So how do we tackle the mobile phones, the Netflix? How do we make sure that they're getting on with their homework? We use it as a reward. Okay, now there are plenty of apps out there that allow you to have control of your child's phone. Now, this isn't a Big Brother-esque thing. We don't want you sat there reading through all their messages, checking what they're talking about. But what you can do is, you can see here, schedule screen time, block and grant, okay, allow time allowance. So apps that allow you to do this, okay, will mean that you can use the mobile phone, for example, as a reward. So if they come in, and we go all the way back now, if they stick to their timetable, you see there, that slot, 8 till 9 p.m. Well, you can then unlock their phone at 8 o'clock if they've done all of this. And then they can have that hour talking to their friends on social media, playing their PlayStation, etc. So the blanks are left there on purpose. We've kept Friday free. Friday can be their treat day, their reward time, only if they've done everything on this timetable. So what we can do is we can draw up a contract. Okay, here it is. So you can draw this up and actually print it off. Okay, get them to sign it. Have it on the fridge. All right. These are the expectations. This is what we expect you to do. If you don't do this, here are the consequences. If you do this, here are the rewards. Okay, sign it. You sign it, they sign it. What we're doing is we're being transparent. Okay, and this is really, really, really important. Talk to your child. Okay, sit them down, show them this presentation, because this is to you, but it's also to them, to help them understand the importance of year 11. Notice my language chops and change between talking to parents and talking to students. We're going to be very transparent. I said right at the beginning about that communication. Well, we're going to explain exactly what we're doing and why we're doing it. Explain why that you're putting the contract in place. Explain exactly what will happen. Be clear, be calm, and be prepared. Okay? Make sure that you're ready for that battle. Make sure that you're ready to keep on nagging, keep on going, but be firm. If you've said to them the condition of them having their phone time or their PlayStation time or uninterrupted chill time is if they do all of their homework without nagging and first time, then if they don't stick to that, exactly what you want, you've been clear. You've given them the choice. You've said, it's up to you. You can do this or you can do that, but these are the consequences. So be nice and transparent, nice and clear. So, top tips for success. Sleep. I touched on this a minute ago. Okay, they need 8 to 10 hours a night. All right, that is extremely important. The sleep helps their brain reset. We said about the brain being a muscle, working hard. Well, you need to rest. Okay, you can't go into the gym and work out all day. You need that rest time. Your muscles need to recover. Diet. Diet is extremely important. You might think this sounds a little bit strange and thinking, how can diet help with exams? But actually, it plays a huge, huge part. Now, fruit and veg give us all the vitamins and minerals, etc., that we need. Now, you might have heard this before, healthy body, healthy mind, and you can see it written there for point 3. But diet actually makes up 60% at least of us being fit and healthy. Now, if you're getting a good balanced meal, your body is going to be functioning better. Your brain is going to be functioning better. Fruit and veg actually help our brain massively. Now, takeaways can always be a treat. You can throw that into the homework contract that maybe on that Friday, if they've done all of the work that you've set out for them for that week, they can choose the takeaway. It might be their favorite one. If they do well in tests, for example, you might treat them to a takeaway or take them out for a meal. That's fine. But I'm sure we've all been there. After a takeaway, you feel sleepy. You feel lethargic. Okay, that's because you've got so much saturated fat in there and your body struggles to break down saturated fat. So you've got all this saturated fat in your body, in your system, and your body is working so hard to try and digest it that it actually needs to focus a lot more on that, and it stops working on other things. And that's why we often feel tired and lazy, because our body's saying, no. You've given me this to digest. Well, we're doing nothing else besides that. So imagine then going try and revising after you've had this takeaway. You're not going to do your best work. Exercise. Exercise is also really, really important. After exercise, your body releases endorphins. You feel good, okay? Your brain feels pumped, feels ready, okay? But it's got to be something fun. You can't force your child to go out for a run if they don't enjoy it, okay? You've got to find that exercise that suits you. So whether that's lifting weights in the gym, whether that's playing some sort of sport, whether that's going for a long walk, whether that is going for a run, whether it's doing something like Ring Fit, for example, on the Switch, whatever it is, some form of exercise that gets them up, gets them moving, gets the heart pumping, okay, will be massively beneficial to them. Now, reading. I'm not necessarily talking about revision at this stage. I'm talking about reading for pleasure. Now, it takes our focus away from a screen. We don't think so. A screen looks fairly solid, like what I'm staring at now looks fairly solid, but it's actually refreshing ever so fast. And our eyes are processing that, and our eyes are going to get tired. That's why we often get headaches. We've been looking at a screen for too long. So get them away from the screen, sit down and read. It can be so relaxing. Again, you need to find something you're interested in. You might not be able to tell this, but I love football. So I read loads of autobiographies. Okay, I can recommend a few if any of your children want to know, but that's what I enjoy doing. Okay, so find something that you do enjoy reading. Helps increase your vocabulary as well, exposing you to more words. So there are so many benefits to that. And then finally, know how to relax. You know, what calms you down after a stressful day. As I said, homework should be tiring. Your brain should be hurting. Okay, you should be working really, really hard. Well, after that, how are you going to unwind? How are you going to relax? How are you going to switch your brain off for an hour or so to rest. And as I said before, if it's playing a PlayStation game that's going to get you angry and pumped and rage quit and throwing things, that's not relaxing. Okay? Try and encourage your son or daughter to find a way to relax. All right? So we've been over the main top tips. Past papers. Start now with the revision. Summer homework. Go back and review topics that you've done. Look at mark schemes. Know the exam that you're facing. Retrieval practice. Test yourself regularly. Okay, you should be testing yourself almost on a nightly basis. Spaced learning. Go and read up on topics that you did a month ago, a year ago, etc. And then finally, you have these ways to keep your body and your mind healthy. All right? Thank you ever so much for listening. I really appreciate your time. Now, the beauty of this video is you can actually go back and re-watch it. You could put it on mute if you didn't want to hear my voice again, okay, and just read what's in front of you. But please use this tool, okay? There are plenty of top tips and golden nuggets in here, so make sure that you're going back and watching it over and over again. And let's not forget, watch something again refreshes the mind, okay? Makes it embed as long-term learning. So definitely go back and watch this video again. Thank you ever so much for your time. If you do have any questions, please feel free to email me on my email address at school, which is just aglover@rushy-tmet.uk. And take care of yourselves, okay? And hope you have a lovely evening, morning, or afternoon whenever you're watching this. Take care. Bye-bye.